You once told me that the fact that I use pre-shredded cheese means I'm going to hell.
Welcome to another episode of Is This for Kids? I am Jonathan Blevins.
And I'm Katie Rubalcaba.
I've been married 10 years. I have an 8-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 3-year-old.
Oh, baby marriage. I've been married for 16 years. I've got 5 kids, ages 15 through 2.
I'm praying on your downfall. I'm kidding.
Wow.
I feel so good that I've been married for so long. 10 years is a monumental thing. And then you called me a baby marriage.
It's a fantastic amount of time to be married for my baby infant brother.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate
my
that.
marriage
We are not siblings, nor are we married.
No, not to each other. We're
To each
both
other.
married.
Yeah.
Not to each other.
Today's episode, we get to talk about 2 of the most famous shows of all time. One new and one old.
Yeah. So popular.
Bluey and SpongeBob.
Yes.
Would you like to hear my SpongeBob laugh real quick?
There's nothing. God, I want to die. I hate it.
There are worse impressions that I can do, but there are also way better impressions. Like, I can't hear you. Oh.
Okay, when we talk about my opinion on SpongeBob, I'm going to need somebody to put this right back in it immediately after I
Okay.
state my opinion, okay?
Perfect. I'm excited about it. But first, let's check in.
Yeah.
Anything fun happening in your life? Any fun kid stories?
Oh my goodness. So you know how kids sort of remember things differently than they actually happened?
Yeah.
And as you get older, you sort of realize that you didn't remember your parents the way that that didn't really happen. You know, you kind of realize that, well, right now, my daughter Millie is in this phase where she's telling me things that she remembers happened. Yesterday, she adamantly said, Mom, do you remember that one time you had us pretend that we were running away from a bad guy and you had us tie all of our shirts together and then you lowered us from a 2nd-story window and Dad caught us? And I was like, no,
What?
honey, that never happened. And she was just no. It was before you were a good mom. You were still really young before you got like good at being a mom. And my husband's like, yeah, babe. Remember before you were a good mom? It was just the most ridiculous.
So it never
nonsense.
happened.
No, it never happened. I'm not lowering my kids from a 2nd-story window.
It sounds super fun. How old is Millie?
She's 10.
Okay, so I still have a couple years before, like, well, that's happening with my kids, but their stories are way, way less crazy. Like, but they're still wrong. Like my son Zachary, who's 7, is just like, Dad, I for sure slept for 12 hours until 9 a.m. And I'm like, you have been up between the hours of 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. your entire life. No, there was one day I slept till 9.
Yeah.
No, there was not.
The sleeping lies are ridiculous. Those are my favorite lies that children tell. My youngest son, he's 9, is adamant he's never slept on a car ride. So on our last car trip, I just kept saying, hey, Merritt, if you can hear me right now and say the word hippopotamus, I will buy you any ice cream you can think of. And dead to the world.
Did you record that and post it, or did you just do it for fun?
No, I'm not. My children are not content.
I don't use mine for content either, but that would be hilarious.
No, that would be.
Yeah, or at least for him.
Saved it for his wedding.
Okay, genius.
Yeah, excellent.
I'm thankful for wives because my wife takes my phone and she uploads any photo that I've taken of the kids onto her phone or onto like the cloud.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I would not do that.
My husband takes way better pictures than I do, so I just let him be in charge of it.
Amazing.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I am excited that today we're going to talk about Bluey and SpongeBob. Are you?
I'm excited to talk about Bluey.
Don't spoil it.
Sorry.
Also, I want you to know this really cool thing before we start. I'm going to coach my son Zachary's football team this year.
No way.
Yeah, assistant coach because I'm a little too busy to be the head coach. Also, it doesn't pay well.
It pays at all? Because I coached volleyball and it was free.
No, I'm under the impression that I get like a little budget for snacks, which I will use for myself.
It's for your snacks?
It's for my snacks, not the kids' snacks. You guys get chips and I get bourbon. Bourbon's a snack,
during
right?
the game. Yeti container, everything's
Yeah.
fine. This podcast is not for kids.
This podcast is not for kids. Me being a coach, though, is, and that's going to be a lot of fun. And my son wants to win the Super Bowl, so he's got high hopes.
Have you told him that Pop Warner football generally does not appear in the Super Bowl?
I didn't want to break his heart. I haven't told him yet.
Okay. Well, let me know.
He's a highly sensitive kid. That's a thing I just learned about. We'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, I think it's important to lie to your children early on.
Wow.
That was a joke.
Do you remember when I first told you that we were doing an episode on Bluey and you were like, why?
Yeah, because Bluey, in my mind, was obviously for kids, but apparently there's a controversy you know about.
There is, and we'll get into that. But I told, you weren't the only one. I told a lot of my friends that we were going to do Bluey on one of the first episodes.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because Well, two reasons. One, there is a funny controversy that we get to talk about and we'll get there. But two, like there are parents out there who are new parents. This is hard for me to remember. There are new parents out there who are doing it for the very first time.
Yeah.
Who are like with a 4-year-old have no idea what to let them watch. And all they've ever watched so far is like Coco Melon.
Yeah.
And they don't know what Bluey is yet. And so they might want to know, is it for kids?
That's true. And you're in this like brand new space where sometimes these things that appear to be for children are definitely not for children. So I get it.
Yeah. So I'm excited. According to IMDb.
I've heard of this, the International Movie Database.
Oh, is that what that stands for?
Seriously? Yeah.
I thought database was one where why does it have two?
I don't know.
Okay.
Not in charge of that.
According to IMDb, Bluey follows the adventures of a lovable and inexhaustible 6-year-old blue heeler puppy from Australia who lives with her dad, Mum, and 4-year-old sister, Bingo. In every episode, Bluey uses her limitless blue healer energy to, as a video gamer, I just hear blue healer and I'm like, oh, that's like a Final Fantasy thing.
Oh, a healer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To play elaborate games that unfold in unpredictable and hilarious ways. The episodes are like 7 to 9 minutes. And all in all, a pretty perfect show. Maybe. Ruby, what are your thoughts?
Gosh, so Bluey is one of those shows that my kids can all watch together because it's not so weirdly saccharine and obnoxious that older kids can't get interested in it, but it's still funny and the parents are relatable and I can watch it with my kids and my 2-year-old and my 10-year-old, they sit on the couch and watch it together. It's, for me, the perfect children's show.
Wow, that which is bold coming from you because people will learn as this podcast goes on that you don't like to have super what's the word? Hot take opinion, not hot take.
I like nuance. I'm a big fan of nuance.
I like hyperbole.
I've noticed that about you. You once told me that the fact that I use pre-shredded cheese means I'm going to hell. Which
I don't think that's what I said.
I think it was. You brought a priest.
I think I said you didn't love your kids.
There was holy water. It was offensive.
It tastes way better when you shred your own cheese, if you have the time to do it.
Uh-huh.
It does. It melts better too. I'm with you. I think Bluey is like the ultimate perfect show for kids, which is it. As much as I love hyperbole, it does take a lot for me to say that about any TV show. It's like a perfect show for even me to watch with the kids if I just want to snuggle them up and watch it. But if you need to just get like the dishes done, you can just throw one episode of Bluey on. Everyone gets excited.
Yep.
You know that there's like no language. There are some episodes that like hint like it's about a really serious issue. Like there's, I think, one that a lot of people think is about a miscarriage that maybe Bluey's mom has had, and that kind of stuff. But like that's going to be so far over little kids' heads. But also, even if it isn't, like that's a real thing.
Yeah, there are plenty of kids who've actually lived that reality where they are so excited for a brother or sister that's not going to get here.
Yeah. But other than like those, which I think are really good episodes, there's like not one episode so far. I believe they just released all of the last of season 3, which I got to watch because of this podcast.
Yeah, I watched it all because my children were watching it anyway. But yeah.
Yeah, and they were all just good. There's like not one episode where you're like, man, this is controversial. Skip episode 21 of season 3.
Yeah, I didn't have that feeling about anything. But you know what I really love about Bluey? It's my favorite thing. Is every time that there's a shot of them in their house, there's a sock under a couch, or my favorite is a plate full of blueberries that's like stuck behind a door. They don't have a perfect house. There's miscellaneous nonsense everywhere.
Yeah.
It's, as a parent, is just very edifying to see.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think my wife also agrees. I wish that there weren't Cheerios just laying around my house.
Right, but knowing that Bandit, the greatest dad of all time, also has Cheerios under his couch, it feels better, you know?
Let's talk about Bandit, the greatest dad of all time, because one of the controversies out there is that, and I know it really does sound silly that I'm like, there's a controversy about Bluey, but there is, and it's like gaining some traction. One of the biggest ones is that Bandit is putting unrealistic expectations on children's for like the amount of time that he spends playing with Bluey and Bingo.
Yeah, I have read that on the internet. When you first pitched this to me and I went and looked it up, I was like, what are people upset about? Apparently, there are quite a few parents out there that feel like, I mean, not just Bandit and Chili both are apparently far too present and far too involved in games. I guess I just don't agree. In most of the context, you see them start the game and then leave the girls to play it together. But also, an episode of Bluey is, like you said, 8 minutes long. I can play with my kids for 8 minutes.
For sure.
You know? Yeah.
I would be lying if I didn't once think it before I ever read that article, like, man, he's just the perfect dad.
Yeah, he's killing it.
Yeah.
over here.
So I've thought that before, but then I think, like you're saying, I think about like what I try to do with my kids, and I try to be very intentional about playing with my kids and reading books, and we go outside and play football all the time, all kinds of stuff. But it's always, my thing is, it's always things I want to do. I need to be better about doing things that my kids want to do. Well, Dad, you want to build Legos? No, let's throw the football. Okay.
Perfect. Well, what's great about Bluey is that you can just flatly steal their ideas and act like they were yours. Like, I completely made up Keepy Uppy.
Yes.
They stole that from
Keepy Uppy is the best game ever.
Yeah. So if you don't have that level of creativity that Bandit and Chili have, just rip it off. It's fine. You just do whatever they're doing.
Genius.
Exactly.
I also had to remind myself that when I was feeling like a bad dad, that they're dogs. So like my kids aren't going to be like, wow, my dad's not a dog, nor does he play with me as much as this dog.
I'm also wearing pants way more often than they are, you know?
I never noticed that.
That I wear pants?
Oh my gosh, no, that they don't in Bluey, but now I will.
Yeah, they're constantly doing laundry, never wearing pants.
I think it's also important for everyone to know that the Australian accents make it 10 times better of a show.
Yeah, and as a result, my 2-year-old now speaks with a slight Australian accent on certain words. So she's got quite a few words, but she's just starting to learn them, and she's learned them with Bluey. So she'll say, please, oh, please, all the time.
My kids call the bathroom the dunny.
Oh.
Which is hilarious. That's a thing.
Yeah.
Why don't you say it like that? Oh.
Because Chili's not a fan of the word. That's what the whole episode is about.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. You're not supposed to call it the dunny.
Why?
But I think it's like sort of like calling it the crapper.
We can't say that. Oh, this podcast isn't for kids.
It's not for kids.
We can say that word.
Oh my gosh, we can't say crapper in front of kids?
No, we can. No, you can do whatever you want, okay?
Okay, we are not.
Bingo's laugh, though, my 3-year-old daughter does it all the time. Just like the hee, like all the time, and it's adorable.
Yes.
But not an Australian accent.
Oh, yeah. My kid definitely does things in an Australian accent occasionally. It's very weird.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you, Ruby. Is Bluey for kids? It seems obvious, but we have to ask it.
Yes, Bluey is for all of the kids. I would say any age. What age do you start giving screen time? 2, 18? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the situation. If you have a 3-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, probably 1.5.
Yeah, exactly. Depends on your life situation, but whenever you're ready to introduce screens, Bluey is a great way to do it, and you can feel comfortable not needing to sit next to your kid and make sure that there isn't anything weird happening on this show. Any kid, any age.
Yeah, I'm with you. The only caveat I would throw in there is to be careful if you're trying to find it on YouTube if you don't have Disney Plus, because sometimes they put weird stuff in between YouTube videos. But even the ones on YouTube that I have found have been fine. Yeah, I'm saying Bluey is for kids and for all ages whenever you think screen time is fine. And don't worry about being a bad parent. You're a good parent.
Yeah, you're a fantastic.
I mean, you should worry about being a bad parent, but not super often.
Can you imagine being the type of parent who watches a podcast called or listens to a podcast called Is This for Kids and still thinking you're a bad parent?
That's what I
Simply
say.
By watching this, you are a good parent. You care enough.
But only if you watch this, you are a good parent.
Exactly. What I wanted to put out there is if you're not listening, you're a terrible parent.
Yes.
Are you?
That is the thing. I'm glad you said that, because I say that to Jody all the time. Anytime she ever is wondering whether or not she's a bad parent, I'm like, just so you know, bad parents don't wonder whether or not they're bad parents.
They're not.
Like, you're good.
They're on Maury screaming about how good of a parent they are.
Yes. By the way, Maury is a good way to get super viral and make a makeup line. Or maybe Dr. Phil. I get them confused.
My nose. That came out my nose.
Were you laughing like SpongeBob? Bah! I went back and I rewatched everything with SpongeBob. Not every single episode, but I watched a couple from each season and totally understand why I thought what I thought when I was a kid. I thought it was really, really funny in the first few seasons, and then gets kind of crazy and weird and off the deep end at the end. And really, most importantly, just not a lot of quality in no lessons.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing about SpongeBob. It's what it's a Charlotte Mason or whatever homeschool philosophy that you would call this twaddle, which is like a thing that has no truth, no goodness, no beauty in it, but it's mind candy, right? It's something that you can just mindlessly zone out on it, and yeah, I don't know if you're going for that for your kids, but there you go.
Yeah, and for me, nothing like wildly bad in it. So like if that is what you're looking for your kid, like fine. But I just think there's better stuff out there.
Yeah, it's definitely not inappropriate. A lot of the things that you'll find online about it being inappropriate are very much adults coming at this from the angle of being an adult. Like Mr. Krabs and Bikini Bottom is not going to register much for a little kid.
Right. Yeah. Right. Mr. Krabs. Oh, Squidward.
I love the impression.
Squidward. I would say.
Make it a little.
What?
I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh.
driving
Did
me
you
drink,
just ask
John.
for another co-host
driving me
just
to
now? There is a little bit of a controversy that came out about SpongeBob that was, which it tracks for me. I'm no child psychologist, but
Right.
there were studies that came out, and I'm forgetting where they're from, so you can just Google them. I did not make these studies up. But apparently, like little kids under the age of like 5 or 6 who watched a lot of it had really short attention spans, and like it affected their ability to concentrate, which for me tracks. Like the show is just a wild experience.
Yeah, I think that tracks for me as well. I think you see that with any group of kids that has been exposed to media very, very young for a very long time. You're seeing it's either that we're getting better at diagnosing it, or it's coming up more often that kids with attention span issues are becoming a more prominent thing in the world. And I think that that's a good point, that if you're consuming a whole lot of this twaddle things, these things that have no deeper meaning, it doesn't require you to think about it, it's a zone out, act annoying kind of a show, it's gonna lead you to become a annoying act out kind of kid.
Yeah, I agree. Which is why I think, to answer the question, is SpongeBob for kids? I would say like 9 and up is fine. Again, not something that like when my kid's 9, I'm like, finally we can watch SpongeBob together like I am with Pokemon. We'll do that episode sometime in the near future. But like if my kid is begging me because his friends love it and he wants to watch SpongeBob, when you're 9, kid, you can start watching SpongeBob.
Yeah.
What about you? Is SpongeBob for kids?
I would agree with your age 9, but I would tell you SpongeBob is for kids who are going to be annoying. Like,
oh wow, that's a hot take.
I just think that there are so many better, like if you're trying to build up a kid with a good sense of humor, SpongeBob is a bad route to take with it. And I love you so much because I'm remembering that.
But my impressions are so good.
It hurt my soul.
And people laugh when I do them.
Only because you've caught them unawares and made them uncomfortable. And there's nothing else to do but laugh. Because they're like, oh, it's a grown man.
What's a butt laugh?
There's nothing to do but laugh.
Is that what you call farts in your house? A butt laugh. See, I have a good sense of humor and I watch SpongeBob.
I'm a lady. I don't fart.
Wow. I will say this. I don't want to just like poop on SpongeBob. And I don't think that's what we're doing. But we're just mostly saying it's kind of mindless. But there are some lessons of friendship. The movie is... I
can't wait till somebody takes I don't want to poop on SpongeBob out of context and makes it into a clip and just...
It'll be funny.
All over the internet.
It'll be a funny clip.
Now, I remember there being a time where somebody edited your face into a SpongeBob cartoon on the internet. Do you recall this?
Are you talking about the video?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where in the scene where, hey, you don't talk about my brother like that. And just like, why don't you lose some weight, you fatty? And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And
it was funny.
That they can have that kind of thing because we were just talking about Bluey a second ago. And in the United States, they edited 30 seconds of a Bluey episode out because of a lack of body positivity where,
that's too far.
Yeah. It's interesting that Bandit and Chili can't stand on the, we don't feel comfortable with them standing on a scale and being like, oh, I got to do more exercise. But a few years back, somebody was screaming, lose some weight, you fatty.
On SpongeBob.
On SpongeBob.
Which is a funny part of the episode and was funny when someone was making fun of me on it.
Yeah. It's just a difference in where we're at as society.
Yeah. I have thick skin, though.
Okay. Bluey's perfect for kids of all ages. We agree, right?
We agree.
SpongeBob, you're going to need to be a little bit older, 9+.
But also maybe you're a little annoying.
Yeah, I would actually try to avoid letting your kids watch it at all, but 9+.
Yeah, we are on the same page there. We will not always be on the same page.
No, not usually, actually.
And I'm really excited about this podcast because we're going to do TV shows and movies and all other forms of media. And so be on the lookout. And if you have any suggestions for things you'd like us to review, movies that are coming out or movies that have already come out before, let us know in the comment section below.
Yes, absolutely.
If you're on YouTube, make sure that you like and subscribe, turn all notifications on.
And make sure that you are following us on your favorite podcast app and leave us a 5-star review.
Please.
Please.